What if your roof was already a water system and nobody told you? Right now, every time it rains, water hits your roofline and runs straight into a drain. Gone. The Amish don't let that happen. They capture it, filter it, and store it underground in cisterns connected directly to their household plumbing, fed entirely by gravity and air pressure. No electricity involved, no utility company in the loop. I'm going to show you the exact layout they use, because once you see how the plumbing logic works, you can't unsee what your roof has been wasting. Your water bill isn't a water bill. It's a delivery fee, and the thing being delivered is already falling on your roof for free. Here's what a municipal water bill actually charges for. Not the water itself, because the water costs nothing to produce. What you're paying for is the pumping stations that move it, the treatment plants that process it, the pressurized mains running under every street in your city, and the debt payments on infrastructure bonds that municipalities took out decades ago to build all of it. You're paying for the machine. The water just rides inside it. And the machine is expensive. Cities spend somewhere between $400 and $1,000 per household per year just to move water from a source to your tap, and you're covering that cost whether you use 500 gallons a month or 5,000. The meter tracks your usage, but most of what you're paying isn't tied to how much water you pull. It's tied to your share of keeping the whole system pressurized and running. That's the first charge. The second one doesn't show up on a bill at all. Every time a pipe bursts in your neighborhood, every time a drought triggers outdoor watering restrictions, every time a utility raises rates because an aging main needs replacing, you go out and buy bottled water, or you lose a garden, or you stock up on emergency supplies because you realized you had no backup and no plan. That spending is invisible in the monthly accounting, but it's real, and it adds up. The Amish don't have a backup system. They have a primary system, and it runs on rain. The roof catches it, the cistern stores it underground, and gravity moves it through the house. Now here's the number most people have never seen. A 1,500 square foot roof in an area that gets 30 inches of rain a year can collect roughly 28,000 gallons of water annually. That's not a trickle to supplement your tap. That's enough to run a household. The math has always been there, sitting in plain sight, and nobody in the water delivery business has any reason to put it in front of you. A household that collects and uses its own rainwater doesn't pay the monthly subscription. That's not a conspiracy. That's just how the incentive works. The industry doesn't hide this information. It just never had a reason to spread it around, so most people never ran the numbers and never thought to ask. The roof on an Amish farmhouse isn't just shelter. Every square foot of it is an active collection surface, and the system that runs underneath it is more thought out than most people expect. Start at the top. The gutters on a traditional Amish rainwater setup run wider than what you'd see on a standard house, because a narrow gutter overflows during a heavy rain and you lose the water you were trying to catch. Wide gutters handle the volume. The downspouts feed into a first flush diverter, which is just a pipe that fills up and holds the first few gallons of any rain event. That first water off the roof carries bird waste, pollen, dust, and whatever else settled on the surface between storms. The diverter catches it and keeps it out of your storage. Once that pipe fills, it's full, and the clean water behind it routes around and flows into the cistern. The cistern sits underground, poured concrete or food-grade poly, buried below the frost line so the water stays cool and doesn't turn into an algae tank by midsummer. These run anywhere from 1,000 gallons up to 10,000 gallons, depending on how many people the farm supports and how much rain the region gets in a year. Water flows into the cistern entirely by gravity because the cistern sits lower than the gutters. No pump involved. That's the whole input side of the system. Getting water back out and up to the house is where terrain matters. If the land is flat, the Amish lift water into a smaller elevated holding tank using a windmill or a hand pump, and then gravity takes it from there. Propane-powered pump engines show up on some farms too, connected to a pressure tank, because the goal isn't to avoid all mechanical help. It's to stay off the grid. That elevated tank is doing something specific. It's creating what's called a pressure head, meaning the weight of the water above your tap is what pushes the water out. Every 2.3 feet of height adds about 1 pound per square inch of pressure. A tank sitting 23 feet above your kitchen faucet delivers around 10 pounds per square inch. That won't match city water pressure, but it fills a pot, runs a sink, and moves water through a basic pipe network without any motor running. The topology of the system, meaning where you put the tanks relative to the house and how the pipes connect them, determines whether you get real flow or a disappointing trickle. You can map that on your own land with nothing more than a tape measure and a level before you spend anything. One catchment surface, one diverter, one underground cistern, one elevated tank, and gravity running the whole thing at every stage. Water off your roof isn't drinking water yet. That's the part people either skip past entirely or turn into a $2,000 filtration project, and both of those approaches cost you more than they should. The first flush diverter already pulled out the worst of it: the bird waste, the pollen, the dust that built up between storms. But what comes through after that still carries things you can't see, and some of them will make you sick. So the Amish run the water through stages, and each stage has a specific job to do. First is a coarse screen, which catches leaves, insects, and visible debris before the water even gets close to a filter housing. After that comes a sand filter, which is just a sealed container packed with layers of fine sand and gravel, and water moves down through it slowly, and the sand pulls out sediment, organic material, and a lot of the biological matter riding along with it. That's the mechanical side done. Now here's where it matters. The pathogens that get through a sand filter are the ones that actually cause harm. Giardia is a protozoan, a microscopic parasite that causes severe cramps and diarrhea, and a ceramic or commercial filter element rated at 0.3 microns will pull it out of the water. Cryptosporidium is harder because it survives in water longer than most pathogens, and a tight filter alone won't always stop it. Sustained boiling kills it. That's the reliable method, and it's the one the Amish have used for generations because it works every time, regardless of what's in the water. Viruses are a different problem because they're too small for any mechanical filter to catch. Hepatitis A, norovirus, rotavirus, none of these get stopped by a ceramic element rated at 0.3 microns. For those you need heat or a chemical disinfectant. Boiling handles all of them. Chlorine dioxide works too, and it's available in small tablet form. Iodine works, but leaves a taste most people won't tolerate daily, and it's not something you'd want to use as your regular long-term method. The Amish apply this selectively, which is the part most people miss. Coarse screen, sand filter, sub-micron ceramic element, then boiling for drinking water specifically. Water going to the garden or the livestock trough skips the last two steps entirely. Because you're not treating water, you're not drinking. Some households add a small splash of vinegar or lemon juice after chemical treatment, not to disinfect, but to cut the aftertaste and reduce any bacteria that survived the earlier steps. One thing most people don't plan for is what happens after a flood or a fire near the property. Both events can push contamination into a cistern, and it won't always look different or smell different. The Amish test periodically, especially after any major weather event, using a local lab or a basic field test kit that costs less than a case of bottled water. Right now, rain is hitting your roof and running straight into a drain, and you're writing a check every month to a utility company to pipe replacement water back through a system you don't own, can't fix, and can't control when it fails. The Amish layout isn't a workaround. It's a closed loop. Catchment to cistern to eleva,